What's up, guys? I just want to make a quick video for some of the guys that might be a little bit newer to kayak fishing, especially kayak tournament fishing, particularly when it comes to taking your pictures and getting fish on the board, and kind of some best practices and stuff like that that I've found that work best for me, and some other things that have helped with some of the other guys that I know that fish these things regularly. The first and probably the most important thing is to have your process down. This is definitely something that you want to practice when you're out just fishing in a non-tournament. Make sure you are taking good pictures, show them to friends. If the tournament director, I know with the Queen City Kayak Bass Fishing, Vinny will always take a look at your picture just to make sure that it looks good, that it would be scored as is when it comes to tournament. So basically what I like to do is I use a catch board. This guy here, this is a 26-inch catch board. I would go with probably the red. This orange can be pretty reflective, can be pretty shiny in the sun, but I haven't had too many issues yet, but the red is definitely a good color. I go with the 26-inch specifically because, and this is where I keep it on my kayak, so it's tucked in here along the side, out of the way, don't have to worry about it, right? So then I will grab it out of here and I lay it across. So I fish out of a Titan, native Titan 12, and it fits all the way across. Now when I get a fish on the board, I'll put my foot underneath just to hold it up. And this is, I think, a flip it is what it's called. There's all kinds of tag holders that you can use that I would highly recommend, especially with the catch board, because these numbers are in the middle here. You don't want to get a holder like the tourney tag ones that go all the way across. Sometimes if the fish is, let's say it's a 16-inch fish, but and its tail is covering 16 or something, like 16 and a half, and your ID is here, you can't necessarily tell what that fish is if that 16 is covered up and that 17 is covered up. So this makes it for a nice way to kind of get everything out in the open. You don't, your tag is out, your ID holder is out of the way, and then you can also, if you get the 36-inch board, you can always tip the board down with the fish there. That'll make sure that the fish's nose is some mosquitoes. You'll make sure that the fish's mouth is there. But one thing you want to avoid is make sure that you get up over top of the fish. And I'll get a fish in the boat here in a minute and kind of show you what to look for when you're measuring the actual fish. But this is what I do. I don't necessarily have to have a clip in the fish's mouth. Some tournaments will allow it, some won't. You want to make sure that you check your rules and make sure that you are following those to the T, and you're not gonna get any fish disqualified because you put a clip in its mouth. You know, if the fish's mouth is open just a quarter of, like the tiniest little bit, it can be a half-inch deduction, and that's absolutely something that you don't want, especially when you get into these competitive tournaments and every quarter inch matters. So that's how I keep my board. Again, this is what it looks like. And another idea and another thing is, when you're taking your pictures, make sure that you get up over top of the board. You don't want to be back here like this, taking a picture here, because then you can't see the fish's mouth. Just make sure it's closed, and you're not getting, you know, all of the quarter inches that you can. If you're up over top and you get it to just hit that line, that can make a huge difference in the day as well. Another thing that some guys do, I don't have a problem, because this board fits all the way across and it's kind of down in the kayak. I have not had a fish flop off, knock on wood. I've not had a fish flop off and back into the water. I kind of have this here too to help. But another thing that I see a lot of people do is they will take their net and put their net here, and then like this. That way it's providing a little bit of extra protection there. You know, if you have a clip, then you don't really necessarily have to worry about it too much. I used to take pictures with the board in my lap like this. I found that I would get so nervous, the board would slip back and forth this way. So if it's a spotted bass and I'm trying to push the fish's mouth shut, I'm like sliding, and then my camera's all weird, and I just don't have a good kind of seat here for the board. So that's why I put it down there just like that. So that's how I do it. And then I'll take my picture, you know, make sure that I have the picture good. And also there's a little tie here. I just have some paracord to a clip to my kayak. These catch boards are super heavy. They obviously do not float. I mean, they're like, what, pure aluminum or whatever it is. So, and they're not cheap. So make sure that you secure your board. RoboHawk makes some good leashes. I just had some paracord laying around, and that works out for me. So that's what I did. And here in a second, I'll get a fish in the boat. I'll show you exactly kind of how I measure the fish, and you know, make sure to move the tail around and that kind of stuff, and show you what an open mouth penalty looks like, that kind of thing. So it'll be a bit more of a complete guide to what's kind of going on with measuring a fish in a tournament. All right, truth be told, that took me a lot longer to catch another fish than I intended, but here's kind of a look at what you're looking for with you know, measuring the fish and everything. So hopefully you guys are catching a lot bigger fish than this, but see, they like to flop, but see how his mouth is very much closed. That is a half-inch penalty. That's a half-inch penalty. That's a half-inch penalty. That's good and closed. You kind of see the difference? That penalty, that not, okay? And then this is why I say get over top of the fish, because you can get that extra 1/4 inch there. Like I said, hopefully you guys are catching a lot bigger fish than this. But if you get back here, now all of a sudden, like if you're taking your pictures back from this angle or whatever, you know, you might miss some of that, or you know, the TD might think that the mouth is open, or you know, here. And also, this is your gill plate right here, right? You can't put your hands under here, okay? That is a DQ. So if you're going to put your hand on the fish, make sure that gill plate is down and you got your hand here. Now also, again, check your rules to make sure that you can manipulate the tail. Sometimes you have to leave in some trails you can't have anything touching the fish. You can hold it up, but you can't be touching the tail, that kind of thing. You always want to make sure that the fish's left eye is showing. I mean, it doesn't matter what way your board is facing, but that left eye has to be showing. And you obviously have to have the mouth against the bump board. So those are all things to consider. And then again, I've got my identifier here. I can adjust the angle if I need to with glare, but let's get this guy back. So again, make sure you are reading the rules of your tournament series and what you can and can't do with fish, with clips, with restraining the fish, having your hand on the fish, manipulating the tail, that kind of stuff, because it's very important and it can cost you very important fish, very important inches, and can sometimes cost you a check. So, you know, let me know if you have questions in the comments here, because you know, this stuff is different for, you know, a lot of different trails in some cases, but that's my process. So I have, again, board here. I take the board out, lay it flat across my boat here, bump on this side, I can put my net down here if I want, as I explained earlier in the video. But that's basically it, guys. You know, that should pretty much cover everything as far as, you know, taking your pictures. Just make sure that your location is on in your camera if you're using Tourney X. And then, you know, like I said, if there's anything that that you thought was missing, just leave it in the comments below. If there's anything that's, you know, super relevant, I'll pin it to the top in the comments. But again, hopefully this helps you guys, and you know, it'll save you some heartache on the water. Take it easy.